Hey there, Yonivores. Angie here. You might be wondering what the hell I'm doing and why this video is so bumpy. But let's just say I'm off on an adventure. Hey everyone, so it's me. You might be wondering why there was no podcast last week. It's because I broke my phone. I had it balanced on a chair when I was dyeing yarn. It fell off the chair. And the screen didn't crack, but the LCD broke and it was just bad, and I was really worried I wouldn't get it back before today. Finally got it back, but it wasn't in enough time to get the podcast out, so sorry about that. I promise we will do the behind the green screen tour really soon. In fact, it might even be up by the time you see this. Apologies in advance for the likely very bumpy video. I am on my way to the train station to get on a train, to then get on another train, to get to the airport, to go to Dublin. I am going to Worldcon in Dublin this weekend. I hadn't planned on going. Found out Lola of Third Vault Yarns was going. She's vending there on Saturday and Sunday. Chatted with Lola about it when we were doing our collaboration a few weeks back. Actually, it was probably about a month ago now. And she was like, you should come. No. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, maybe I should just go. Maybe I should go and have a weekend where I just have some fun at a science fiction and fantasy book convention. So I bought a last minute weekend pass and a last minute plane ticket and a last minute hostel reservation, and here I am. I'm off on an adventure, and I've heard that the trains are running slow, so let's hope that doesn't cause an issue. Mind you, I'm leaving like 5 hours early for a train station, or for an airport that takes like an hour to get to, so I'm probably fine. Just a little paranoid. It's interesting because I'm going to Worldcon more as a writer than as a yarn dyer, which for me is new and uncharted territory. So I guess that's it really. I decided to go to a convention in order to figure out what to do with my almost but not quite published book. And there I went on the train. So after spending quite a while trying to figure out which project to take with me, because all of my projects are like big, or 3-color color work, or too complex for travel knitting, I remembered that I had these socks that I was trying to finish before Perth Festival of Yarn next month. But look, I must have sat on the bag because the needle's bent. And it's not bent bad enough to like prevent me knitting with it, but it's really irritating me. Oh no. I'm actually dying laughing because my gate for going to Worldcon is 42. 42. Alright, so 42 was not a good sign. The gate number changed as soon as I recorded that, and the gate number changed, and then as I was getting ready to board the plane, they told me there was something wrong with my boarding pass, but they didn't catch during check-in or my visa check, and suddenly I had to pay a whole bunch of extra money in order to get on the plane, which was really stressful, and I had to literally, even though I was at the airport like 4 hours early, I had to like run. I had to run for the plane. And then I got into my hostel super late last night. It was like 1:30 or something. So I'm really tired. I'm too old for hostels, I think. I'm gonna go across the road. I'm on O'Connell Street. I'm gonna go across the road to that rolling donut there, and I'm gonna get lots of donuts. And then I'm gonna head to the Worldcon Convention Center and hope that I get into the panel that I wanted to see this morning. So, yeah, alright, here I go. To be honest, this is one of the best donuts I've ever eaten in my entire life. Look at the joy on my face. Best. It was a Boston cream. And then I made my way to the CCD Convention Center, which had really lovely views, even just going up and down the escalators, and went and camped out where my panel was and took this really awkward video of me staring wistfully out the window at the AIG building. You're welcome. Hey everyone. I hope the sound on this isn't too low. I don't want to talk too loud because there's somebody sleeping in the next room. So hopefully you'll be able to hear me okay. I didn't get to talk as much and film as much as I wanted yesterday. It was a very busy convention and tons of people, and kind of trying to jump around from one panel to the next panel, trying to cram in as much as I can, which is why I'm here, is trying to do as much as I can, but I'm so tired. I'm going back to the convention today, and then I'm going home this evening. So I'll do most of the convention today and then head back to the airport to go home. And my wife will be running the live stream, so you might, this is gonna come out after that, but you might have seen me pop in, but I don't know if I'll be home in time, so it'll depend. Yeah, I don't know. So basically, I went to kind of panels on writing and self-publishing, and I talked to people that I've never met before about writing and publishing, and kind of still trying to get my head around it. I will say I definitely feel a little more solid than I did before, at least that the resources I've been using seem to be the resources that everyone else uses, which means that that's probably a good way to go about it. I don't know, I still feel very unsure of myself and of the book that I wrote and of the whole situation. It's definitely affirming that when I've told other people at this convention who are authors what happened, they've all gone, no. So at least I feel a little bit less like I'm being ridiculous for still being really bummed about the whole situation. Also, I'm pretty sure at least half the people at the convention have asked me about my dinosaur decorations. They have dinosaurs on them. Look at that, dinosaurs. They're from a company called Run and Fly. So I have a whole bunch of stuff on my schedule for today, and most of it overlaps, so I won't be able to see it. I'll have to make some hard decisions. So I don't know, I'll just have to see what I make it to. And I also wanted to head back to the dealer's alley to pick up some stuff that I saw yesterday, and I decided to let myself mull. I decided to mull on it and see if I still wanted it today, and I do, so I'm gonna go back. I've discovered some amazing new to me authors and artists, and I feel like I have crammed so much information into my brain over the last 24 hours. I've taken so many notes. I've learned a lot. I have stuffed a lot of new information and ideas into my brain. And it's all about figuring out how to manage your time and how to balance running gamer crafting, which I love and I find really sort of looking for. As a career, I find it really, that's gratifying. I find it really rewarding as well. And I'm proud of what we have built over the last few years. But it's figuring out how to find time to approach and pursue other creative interests without taking away from what we've already built
and without also sacrificing my mental health and sanity. I know that some people say, oh, we'll just sleep less, but I already sleep less. I can't really cut any more out of the sleep budget unless I want to actually become a zombie. So it's finding ways to carve out time for those other creative pursuits. I really enjoy the writing process. I enjoy the editing process as well, which I know some people maybe don't enjoy as much. But I do. I enjoy the writing process. I enjoy the editing process. I was really enjoying planning, marketing my book, and finding cover art, and all of that. So it's just seeing what's next. I don't know what's next. Maybe magically today I will figure out what's next. What is it about conventions that just makes you feel tireder than you've ever felt ever in your life? I know that that's a really common feeling. Did so much yesterday, and then last night I literally slept under a desk. When I decided to stay the extra day, Lola said, oh, well, you can, we'll try and find a spot for you on the floor if you want to just stay with us, because obviously Dublin can get very expensive with accommodation over the weekends. For example, the hostel that I stayed in on Thursday night was £17, and that same hostel on a Friday night is $45, which is an obscene difference. So yes, I slept under a desk last night, and today my body is broken. I'm a broken woman. I need carbs and sugar and coffee, and then maybe I'll start to feel a little bit human again.
So then I made my way to Offbeat Donuts for the aforementioned sugar and carbs. So this morning I stopped at Offbeat Donuts. I tried rolling donut yesterday. I even got the same one for purposes of an appropriate comparison. And yeah, okay. I mean, it's good. This one's chocolatier. Well, I preferred yesterday's, to be honest. A bit like pizza though, isn't it? Even not amazing pizza is still good pizza. I mean, this is still pretty amazing. I just preferred yesterday's. I think yesterday's was a bit fluffier. There's a Welsh word for wanting to return to a time and place that you can't anymore. It's called Hiraeth. It's possible I'm mispronouncing it, but it's kind of what I'm feeling this morning. And it could just be because I'm overtired. It could be because I'm walking around in a place that I love. I'm definitely in a glass case of emotions this morning. I need to get it together because there's a class in 20 minutes that I need to get to. The wind is so bad that it keeps messing with my gimbal. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna finish my donut and I'm gonna go. Okay. So there you have it, really. I don't know whether it was being overtired or perhaps not having enough nourishing food, but I was feeling pretty emotional that morning. And you can also tell that my gimbal was freaking out with all of the high winds that Dublin had that day. It was swinging around all bananas and was difficult to control. So I have truncated this video and sped it up for all of your sanity. I do think that part of my emotion, or perhaps over emotion, depending on your perspective, was due to the fact that I definitely felt like a fish out of water. I can talk about yarn all day long. It's something I'm comfortable with. I know popular designers and designs, and I know about tension and gauge and how to dye yarns with acid dyes or fiber reactive dyes or natural dyes.
And I can talk to you about the chemical processes of what happens when you dye yarn. I can talk to you about marketing, a small business. I can talk to you about all kinds of things related to yarn. But when it comes to talking about writing, it's something that I still feel woefully underprepared to actually deal with the business side of things. I feel like I got incredibly lucky to even have had it be picked up by a publisher in the first place, given my relative ignorance about the entire process. I'll also say that I found myself really wishing that I had one of these here time machines in the form of a DeLorean. I just couldn't get to every panel that I wanted to see and experience. There were hundreds, many of them overlapping, obviously, and I just couldn't get to all of them. Trying to pare down my schedule felt physically painful. Also, I did want to show you the Third Vault Yarns stand as Lola was vending there, but by the time I did my 2 panels in the morning that I wanted to do and made it back to her stand, there was nothing left. So, it's the morning after I returned. As you can see, I look a little bit like a broken woman. Is something about cons, they just really take it out of you. A lot of peopling and walking around and everything. I'm actually only out of bed to put food into the slow cooker for dinner later. I'm gonna go straight back when I'm done with this. So, I have a lot to parse through, a lot to consider. I took lots of notes while I was there. I went to so many panels yesterday before I finally had to leave to go to the airport to make my flight. So many panels. I took notes on all of them so that they wouldn't all blur into one panel, which has already started happening in my mind. I turned to Lola, Third Vault Yarns, and I said, "Oh, I was in a panel earlier, and this really funny thing happened." And she just looked at me and she went, "I was sitting next to you. We went to that panel together." Fair point. Yeah, so it was really good. I'm really glad that I went. It's not a cheap convention to go to. It's actually, well, I don't know. I've never really gone to any of the big American Comic Cons, but it's not cheap to go to this one, but I'm definitely glad that I went. I learned loads that I'm still even trying to process in my mind. I met some fabulous new people. I had some really fun experiences. I got to put on a Star Trek uniform jacket, and the guys running the stand also had Star Trek uniforms on, and I got to be the captain. Side note here, present day Angie speaking, this was one of the most fun things I've ever done at a con. Look how into it these awesome dudes got. What a fun thing. I'm gonna print and frame every single one of these pictures, and literally no one can ever stop me. And we took some pictures, and that was really fun. One of the guys told me that he really liked my Star Trek Discovery shirt that I was wearing, which was only barely visible above my dungarees, which, by the way, totally split from like crotch all the way down to my knee when I bent over to pick up a euro that I dropped off the ground. So then I did an awkward penguin waddle for the rest of the day trying to get to the airport. I'm definitely glad that I went. I feel like I have more of a handle on knowing what steps are next if I want to pursue this different creative path. And I met some really fabulous people who are very helpful. Yeah, I met Nina Allen yesterday, who writes some fabulous sci-fi novels. She was a panelist in one of the panels that I went to about, I think it was just called What I Learned Along the Way. And she had this really good point about how sometimes when you're growing up, you're good at academics and you're good at testing, you get kind of like shunted into this express lane to academia, where everyone thinks that you're just going to end up being somebody who's, you know, a researcher or a professor. And obviously there's nothing wrong with either of those things. But sometimes those avenues can feel like it's a bit discouraging, like the the attitude of academia kind of has this underlying attitude that sort of discourages your own creative projects. And it really resonated with me. Like, I'm still trying to process it now in thinking about how potentially that changed how I approached writing. And she said, oh, I didn't write my first book until I was 30. And that's when I wrote my first book. So it definitely resonated with me. And I had a nice chat with her after the panel. And I sort of quickly went over, what happened with my book, that it was almost published, the publisher folded. And she was so nice. And she put her hand on my shoulder and she was like, if it was good enough to get picked up, it will get picked up again, or you'll find success with it. And it was so kind and genuine and friendly that I had to keep myself from going to cry in a corner. I know that I'm a bit overtired and everything, but I was like, oh, it was so sweet and genuine. She didn't have to say that. Yeah, the flight back was fine. Lots of turbulence, but it's all right. It's a short flight. My lovely friend Mike came and picked me up, and I came home, and it's all good. And I'm gonna go get back into bed and maybe sleep for a couple more hours before I actually properly haul myself out of bed. There will be a lot of writing today, I think. I'm feeling energized and inspired. And I came up with so many cool ideas in talking to people that I'm like, well, I now have 12 books that I want to write, so I better get cracking. Doing NaNoWriMo until I die. So, yeah, it was interesting. It was gratifying. I guess stay tuned. Obviously, I know most of you aren't here for book chat. You're not here to hear about what books that I may or may not be writing. You're here to hear about yarn, so this has been a bit of a departure, I suppose. Don't worry, we'll get back to the yarn. I did do some knitting while I was away. I'm almost finished with a pair of emo rainbow socks. I did most of the ribbing on the plain back last night, so I think a few more rows of ribbing tonight, and I can cast off, block them, and call them done. Which is exciting. I've been working on these for ages and forgot about them. I think I've been working on these since Perth last year. Yikes. So those are basically done. So I did do some knitting. Not very much though. I'm glad that I didn't take a massive project that took up loads of space. I would have been annoyed. Alright, anyway, I'm going to take myself back to bed. And I'm going to take some ibuprofen because I'm in pain. And I will bid you all a fond farewell. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon.